more than 40 years, Vince McMahon controlled professional wrestling. He built WWE into the global entertainment empire worth billions of dollars. But in 2023, something happened that many fans thought would never occur. WWE was sold, not just sold, merged with UFC to create a new sports entertainment giant called TKO Group Holdings. But now, the deal is being challenged in court. Some shareholders claim the sale process may have been steered behind the scenes. And the question they're asking is simple. Did WWE really explore every possible deal? Or was the outcome already taking shape long before the public knew? Today we're breaking down the full story, how the merger happened, why Vince McMahon returned to power before the sale, and why investors are now fighting over what really happened behind closed doors. Welcome to the Tea Drop, where the brew is strong and the stories behind the wrestling business run even deeper. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating business stories in wrestling history, the WWE UFC merger, and the lawsuit that's trying to uncover how it happened. No legal jargon, no complicated finance talk, just the story. To understand the TKO merger, you first have to understand Vince McMahon. Because for decades, WWE wasn't just a company, it was essentially the McMahon family business. Vince McMahon took control of the company from his father in the early 1980s and expanded it nationwide, then worldwide. He created WrestleMania, weekly television shows, pay-per-view mega events, global touring events. Eventually, WWE became the largest wrestling promotion in the world, generating more than $1 billion in revenue annually. And because WWE was a publicly traded company, McMahon still owned a large amount of voting power, meaning he had an enormous influence over the company's future. But in 2022, everything changed. In 2022, reports revealed that Vince McMahon had made millions of dollars in settlement payments tied to allegations of workplace misconduct.
The Wall Street Journal breaking the news this week that McMahon paid hush money, $12 million to women who had made allegations against him. $12 million in payouts. That's a big scoop from the Wall Street Journal. Now there's probably more to come. There's an investigation that McMahon has pledged to cooperate with.
WWE's board launched an internal investigation, and for the first time in decades, Vince McMahon stepped away from leadership. Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan took over running WWE. For many fans, it looked like the Vince McMahon era might have finally come to an end. But just months later, something unexpected happened. Because in January 2023, Vince McMahon returned to the company's board.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
And he returned with one goal: selling WWE. At the time, WWE was extremely valuable. The company had massive television deals with NBC Universal and Fox. Streaming partnerships were expanding worldwide. Live events were selling out arenas around the world. Because of that success, several major companies were rumored to be interested in buying WWE. Names that circulated included Disney, Comcast, Amazon, and international investment groups. But instead of selling the company outright, WWE took a different path: a merger. In September 2023, WWE officially merged with UFC's parent company, Endeavor. The deal created a brand new company called TKO Group Holdings, which began trading on the New York Stock Exchange. Under the structure of the merger, Endeavor owned about 51% of the new company. WWE shareholders owned about 49%. WWE itself was valued at roughly $9.3 billion in the transaction. For the first time in decades, WWE has no longer controlled by the McMahon family. Instead, it became part of a larger combat sports organization alongside UFC. The vision was simple: combine two of the most powerful brands in combat sports and build a global entertainment powerhouse. But not everyone believed the process has been handled fairly. Soon after the merger was announced, a group of WWE shareholders filed a lawsuit. Their concern wasn't necessarily the merger itself. It was how the deal came together. In corporate law, executives have something called a fiduciary duty. That means they must act in the best financial interests of shareholders. But according to the lawsuit, Vince McMahon may have influenced the sale process in a way that favored the deal with Endeavor. Plaintiffs argue that the outcome may have been taking shape earlier than the public realized. Plaintiffs argue the transaction may have been predetermined, with McMahon allegedly seeking a deal that allowed him to remain involved with the company after the sale. The case is being handled in the Delaware Court of Chancery, which specializes in corporate disputes. And the discovery process has already revealed some interesting details. One of the most interesting revelations in the lawsuit involves something called Project Stunner. Yes, like the wrestling move. But in the case of Project Stunner, was reportedly the internal code name used for the WWE sale process. According to court filings, plaintiffs claimed that discussion between Vince McMahon and Endeavor executives may have begun months before WWE publicly announced that it was exploring a sale. There was an alleged meeting in December 2022 involving Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, and Endeavor executives, including CEO Ari Emanuel. This meeting reportedly happened weeks before McMahon used his controlling voting power to return to the WWE's board. Plaintiffs argued this suggests the merger may have been developing earlier than investors realized. The lawsuit also claims that some executives discussed the deal using Signal, an encrypted messaging app where messages can automatically disappear.
So it's not about not having anything to hide, it's about having something to say. Signal, it's been expertly designed to not know anything about anything you do. Protect your
They have asked the court to assume that the missing communications may have been damaging to the defendant's case. The defendants strongly denied those accusations, and the court will ultimately decide how those claims should be interpreted. Here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. Even though the merger originally allowed Vince McMahon to remain involved with the company, that didn't last long. In January 2024, McMahon stepped away from leadership within the TKO following new legal developments connected to separate allegations. Meaning the man who built WWE is no longer running the company. For the first time in generations, WWE is no longer controlled by the McMahon family. Today, WWE operates as part of the TKO Group Holdings alongside UFC. The goal is to build one of the most powerful combat companies in the world, but the legal battle over how the merger happened is still ongoing. And depending on what the courts decide, we may learn even more about the negotiations behind one of the most biggest business deals in wrestling history. One thing is certain, the Vince McMahon era shaped professional wrestling forever, but the WWE he built is now part of something entirely new. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let me know in the comments. Do you think the WWE merger was simply a smart business move, or do you think there's more to the story behind the scenes? Because in professional wrestling, the drama rarely stays inside the ring.